On behalf of the Vanport Mosaic, I would like to thank you for joining us for a very staged reading of the first act of a new play by Don Wilson Glenn, Martha Bakes, a biography of a revolution and insurrection that never happened. We'd like to thank our sponsors and funders, Ronnie LeCroute, the Oregon Community Foundation, Advance Gender Equity in the Arts, and Collins Foundation. We'll be starting soon, but you still have a moment to put on your headphones, maybe dim the lights around you, and settle in. Welcome to the theater.
Of surrender, I have never given in to doubt or the world. Up, up, on your feet, Martha. I am determined to live and write my own biography. I have friends. Friends of the general, who will be here soon. I have sent dispatch. Oh, Godspeed, I will be found. Word is on the road. One if by land, two if by sea, from Concord to Maine. I am Martha Washington, the soldier's friend. This once said of me at Valley Forge. Word has been sent. I will be saved. Friends are on the road. Oh, Martha, you must believe this. What choice but to believe? I am this country. Old in age, but newly bold. Fire! Fire! Oh, surely someone at Fairfax sees this fire by now. Our good neighbors are on their way. They'll arrive soon, if not too late. Most unfortunate business. This was to be a plain and simple event, as the general wished. The reading of his will, just I and the solicitor, and then tomorrow, seeing off of the general. And now this! Oh, bound life threatened. Ugh. Oh, most unfortunate business. Ugh. With visitors scheduled for Mount Vernon, how will this be explained away? Oh, I so wanted the grandchildren to visit and meet with Dolly. She is a joy. We're such good friends. And Abigail. All quite different women, but we adore each other. Although I am disappointed in Abigail, she sends her regrets. Declining the invitation, she will not be attending the general's funeral. She, like myself, these days finds travel to be a challenge of great discomfort, and John has not been feeling well himself. I'm sure those are her reasons. She's far too polite to speak her true thoughts. This business of slavery is not agreeable to her. How delighted she will be to hear of the general's will. Pity she is not here. Tight, these binds. Oh, it moves. There's room to move. This arm is nearly free. Oh, it would be a shame to cancel all. What to do with the general's body? I'd wished for today's and tomorrow's events to be pleasant. A good day for the general's friends to come and speak good things over him. But never fear, this unpleasantness will be set down. I've witnessed the unrest of a people. Seen my fair share of harsh times. From the year of my birth, 1731, harsh times were to be. Being the eldest of 8 siblings, 3 brothers and 5 sisters. Daughter of John Dandridge, a Virginia planter, an immigrant from England. Mother, France Jones, of American birth, English, Welsh, and French heritage. The stuff I am made of has fed on the unrest of a people. I face it now at my door, and I've faced it before. 1754. Oh, a particularly bad year. That was the start of the French and Indian War. I suffered a loss then as a young mother. I was 22 during that war. It was the first time the general came to my attention, a dashing young war hero. He had participated in this war as part of the British militia from Virginia. It would be 5 years later before circumstances would lead him to my door to ask socially to be seen with me as a young widow. Oh, let me not talk of romance now. It would be the rebellions of 67 and 68 which proved to change our destiny. During the riots and the protests against new taxes imposed by the British, government soldiers opened fire and killed 3 people outright, 2 more later dying of their wounds. The Boston Massacre became a battle cry of a people yearning to be free. Oh, hello? Who's there? Oh. Hello? Oh, it came from within. I am armed. I know well the use of a rifle. I was taught by the best soldiers of the Continental Army. Stand down.
Ladies and gentlemen, and the gentry, welcome our inaugural First Lady of the United States, the little darling from New Kent County, Pretty Patsy of Chestnut Grove, Virginia. Please give her a big one, Mrs. Martha Dandridge, Custis, Washington. Martha!
Give me liberty. Welcome to the show. Today we will be preparing for our arriving guests freedom and liberty. Dishes best served in a bowl. One can enjoy scooping them out delicious spoonful at a time. But first, let us secure the fort and prepare the kitchen. Philistines are at the gates of David. Cannons to the right of me. Cannons to the left. Slowly I turn, step by step, inch by inch. I will survive this. I am a survivor. Cheerfully, I survive. We must endeavor to let our ways be the ways of pleasantness. This is not the first time in my life I've been abandoned by circumstances. I have learned one cannot allow circumstances to dictate one's disposition. I will be ever so mindful to have a pleasant disposition, no matter what circumstances I may find myself. Whether in the frying pan or the fire. Dear friends, this is not a good thing. We haven't much time. Something must be prepared on short notice. An hour, maybe two. I have sent Willie Lee, George's trusted servant, who served with the general during the Revolution and most recently freed by George's will. I sent him to the Fairfaxes with alarming dispatch that I am in need of rescuing. It's an hour's walk. But old Willie is upon an age willed to George when George was just 10 years old himself. So it may take him some careful steps. But he is to be trusted. We have time. We must sit tight. Time will go by quickly and all will be well that ends well. Time goes by with good friends. I have you. It is nice to have friends in the kitchen to talk with, share life stories, a laugh or two while the dough rises. It is cheerful. The intimate secrets told through recipes have made lifelong friends. Let us see what we can manage for our guests. It is December. Not much in the way of fresh greens from the garden. Oh, the general so loved his greens. I collected many of his fall and winter favorites to put on the menu. Roasted butternut squash with rosemary, and from the smokehouse, lamb and mutton, which was on the general's first state dinner after becoming president. Oh, and he loves a good nutty fruit cake filled with whiskey and packed with sweetmeats. He calls it boozy cake. Oh, the general has such expressions. I am sure we have some sweet potatoes. Last week they were tugged from the ground. Mashed sweet potatoes. The general loves. Oh, listen to me. Foolish. I sound foolish. Old. Speaking as though he's still with us. I feel him still with me. I should not be sad. I could be cheerful. Cheerful! My mother taught that we girls should always be as busy as a bee, as cheerful as a cricket, and as stable as a clock. She did not live long. She bore 7 children and then died as cheerful as a cricket. The French, Damaris, concilié, imprudent. She left me truly little information that would be useful to manage life. Let alone manage a plantation. In 1757, the year my first husband, the late Daniel Parke Custis, died, I became one of the richest widows in the American colonies at the age of 25, with independent control over a dower inheritance for a lifetime. Following the death of Daniel Custis, I became my own steward, setting down to settle accounts, arrange for power of attorney, and I quickly informed the Custises' British factors of Daniel's death in a tone that wasn't much liked. Strikingly businesslike, it was said to be. Dear Londoners, Liverpudlians, Glasgowians, be it understood, notated, I, the widow Custis, Martha, shall be sole managing executor of the Custis estate, requesting up-to-date account forms from each of you. All correspondences and actions must come through me. I deeply express our association will be agreeable and lasting to us both. I took the little power given a widow during those times. Dower rights gave such women automatic inheritance, 1/3 of a husband's estate. Men who fear power often give women none or little at all. It cannot be helped. When it comes to power, power simply can be as a shorter man becoming taller to protect the interests of all. The 3/5 compromise serves that very such. I speak lightly of this suffering. I hope that isn't your thought of me, for I do not take lightly of my blessings and state of life, nor my means of survival. In contrast, under the circumstances, slave women are forced to keep working despite their sorrow. Poorer women might be reduced to beggary, their children taken away and apprenticed. I, as a planter's widow, took bold action, not allowing the estate to be controlled by a male trustee. I had to be strong, fighting in a world not made for women to own, nor to make choices to choose decisions for oneself. I was a young woman, and left in my custody were 300 souls, African souls, who will remain my dower slaves until my death, which is the unfortunate business outside these walls, waiting for my final disappointment, which I am not ready currently to meet. Of those 300 I brought to Mount Vernon after my marriage to General Washington, 84 of whom are my dower slaves. In many passionate conversations with Abigail, I have expressed I have no power to release them or sell them. They are only in my charge to protect the children's wealth and welfare. Subject not for discussion now. It is late, and we need many things. Our guests, when arrived, must be fed. Some of the best meals are simply made from what can be found on hand. Let's see. There are all kinds of spices, herbs, rosemary, pepper will be needed, salt, flour. A good, quick Irish soda loaf will do. Not that much fuss. Oh, yes. Many preserves, pickled vegetables. Oh, my, will you look? Peaches, apples, plums, pears, cherries. Oh, all so delicious on bread or toast or a recipe I made famous throughout the colonies, pepper cakes. Oh, the gardens at Union Farm are the best in the county. I tend to them myself. I've even taken up beekeeping. Oh, it's a shame I cannot show you the grounds. You must promise to return during the spring and summer months, when the gardens are at their most beautiful, full bloom with an array of colors. The peonies on the farm are the show-offs. The mums and daisies are humble and yet quite serviceable flowers in a pinch. But it is the sight of the geraniums that steals my heart away. At an early age, I enjoyed working in gardens, planting and waiting for the ground to erupt. I learned patience and the tolerance for delay, trouble, disappointments, suffering. The same patience in the garden is needed in the kitchen and also in life. Oh, we may be in luck. Before this insurrection business, the servants laid aside some items from the garden and the dairy in the harvest basket. Oh, let's see what we have on hand. I am so pleased. Yes. Oh, the right amount of manna from heaven. Milk for the making of the bread. Fresh eggs. Green string beans, cabbage. Winter squash, pumpkin. And the sweet potatoes. Most pleased indeed. I think we have everything we need. Soda bread is quick bread. The making of the bread is in 3 parts: the making of the dough, the forming of the dough, and the baking. Simple, very much like life. 4 cups of flour. And then a teaspoon and a half of salt. Now we add a teaspoon of soda, actual soda, hence the name soda bread. A little on the nose. Mix them all together, work them all in. Then we will add the milk. We will use the milk that we have on hand, but traditionally buttermilk is best. 2 cups of milk. See how it fizzles? Oh, this gives the bread the air pockets it needs during baking. Here we go, the fun part. Using your hands. Adding more flour if needed. Adding flour to your workspace. Be generous. Whew. Now, pour out the mixture and start kneading. Yes, everything needs kneading. It took much kneading to win over my first husband's father, John Custis IV, most disagreeable man to children and dogs, but worse to his own children. Daniel and his sister were denied marriage several times by their father. Daniel was 40, my senior by 20 years. I was just a girl of 18 when he came calling. When word got back to his father that Daniel asked me out, well, Mr. Custis threatened to disinherit Daniel if he continued courtship. John Custis detested the idea of Daniel ever marrying, and most worse, marrying me. It was known throughout the colonies, his detest. When my name was mentioned, Martha, he declared he would throw the silver into the road rather than allow that Dandridge girl to enjoy it. Well, a little more kneading was needed. If the dough is sticky, add more flour. There. That should do. I found, or kneaded my way into John Custis's heart. Everyone has a deep love, and we are put here on this earth to serve that very love. And John Custis's love was his young son, a mulatto boy of about 8 years old. He had fathered him with one of the slave women. This was common practice on the plantation. My youngest sister, had by my father, was a mulatto, had by an African Cherokee mother. I took it upon myself while Daniel and his father were away for several weeks to see the child, reading to him, bringing him his favorite treats, lastly, sealing the deal with a pony from the Dandridge farm. Oh, he fell in love with all, including me. When Daniel and his father returned from their trip, the young mulatto cried night and day for my return and pony rides. John Custis sent a carriage to my door, and after our meeting, his solicitor wrote to Daniel, "This comes at last to bring you the news that I believe will be most agreeable to you. I am empowered by your father to let you know that he heartily and willingly consents to your marriage with Miss Dandridge." As fate would have it, Mr. Custis did not live long after to attend the wedding. I was a beautiful bride. Life with Daniel Park Custis was pleasant. We had 4 children: Daniel, Francis, John, and Patsy. Life was simple. No fuss. Quick bread. It seems so long ago. I've outlived them all. My second marriage to the general produced no children, but a great father indeed to mine and my grandchildren. I have heard it said, more so witnessed, God gives back more than he takes. My grandchildren, Elizabeth, Martha, Patty, Eleanor, and George Washington Park Custis gave me a second chance to hear the laughter of children through the halls. I watched them grow to become well-respected members of the world. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven on the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. Look, isn't it beautiful? Now, take your knife and cut into the dough deeply, making a cross. There, we're done, ready. Well, if there were more time, we would add raisins and dates. Let it set 5 to 10 minutes before baking. The thickness of the dough will require it to bake for some time, an hour or more. You do not want to keep pulling it from the heat to check on its progress. A timer is best to use. I use an hourglass. There should be an hourglass or two. Some may use the wick of a candle by watching it burn down, but it is not reliable. The dough needs to cook through. I think hourglasses are best. I'm sure they're here. Oh. They are nowhere to be found. It has been weeks now that I have inventoried the kitchen. Things go missing with them. One must keep a watchful eye, even on the most trusted of servants. Like children they are when things go missing, found broken, or food left out to spoil. When asked, they do not know where, when, or how it happened. Repeatedly, I explain where things must go, what sponges and drying towels are best for cleaning, and which are not. Repeatedly, or nothing will be placed back in its place, into its proper place. The general promised to do better by returning things to their stations. I mustn't scold him now. What good would that do? All men can learn a lesson. Why is it extremely hard to comprehend? I speak of men, the general and his list of things for the troops: muskets, rifles, pistols, knives, bayonets, cannons, down to the very button on a vest. Why can't men see the importance of maintaining a kitchen? Or for it to be called women's work. A man may work from sun up to sundown, but a woman's work, never done. The troops must eat, I tell the general. For that to happen, a kitchen must be maintained. In the home or on the battlefield, pots, pans, and ladles must be scoured clean and put back into their place of purpose. Come what may, protests, riots, and revolutions, I am sure, will always be the future of this country. Freedom will be as constant a struggle as the maintenance of a kitchen. Hourglasses will be needed. Cutlery and other such things will be needed, not just to display one's station in life, but they are necessities. I've received several from France. Hourglasses, 1 minute, 10, and an ambitious 1 hour. The one we used the most was broken. I'm sure we had it replaced. Ugh. It was kicked over. During childbirth, it was broken. A delivery I took part in here in this kitchen. Oney's first child. In her pains, she took me by the hands. I nearly fainted from her grip. She needed me. I was more to her than anything in that moment of pain. She needed me, and I needed her. She gave me such comfort. She's gone. Took her liberties. I fear for her well-being. A young slave with no idea of life off the plantation. Fear for them all regarding their freedom, released in a world that will take advantage, seeing their vulnerable and underdeveloped positions in life. It concerns me greatly that Oney may be without food or shelter. All her and her children's needs were met, taken care of by me and the general. I remember her broad smile, lasting for months after I placed her newborn into her arms. The birth of a child is a happy, blessed event for slave and mistress. That baby and mother are healthy in a time where the concern for women's health was equal to the concerns of their education. None. Well, I'm hopeful that has changed. Better care for women and children, for one never gets over losing a child, nor the death of mother and child. I've seen both, and carry the sorrow of losing children. Oney was a dower slave, the daughter of Betty, a seamstress, and Andrew Judge, a white English tailor who was a slave, that is an indentured servant at Mount Vernon. Oney was brought into the house and she became an expert at needlework and eventually my body servant. I will allow her to tell her own story soon. Oh, I think I know where they may be hiding from us. I used them last when Jefferson was here. I prepared a brisket, which took many painful hours to watch, as was his visit. Most detestable of mankind, the greatest misfortune to happen to this country. Having him here at Mount Vernon was the second worst day of my life, next to the loss of the general. The straw that broke the camel's back, spreading scandals to Europe of our family's affairs. I will say no more. When he chewed, his jawbone popped, and he clicked the china like he was plucking a banjo. His nervousness showed his perfidy. To our friends in France, he wrote of me with contempt, implying I desired my role to be no less than the Queen of England. Nothing was farther from the truth. Even adding that George was a Samson whose hair had been cut off by the whore England. He went so far as calling for the impeachment of the general. Oh, behind our back, never to the face, for had he, a good whipping would have been in order. Sitting there at the table, all smiles, he must have known that we had the evidence of his deceitfulness in the house. Well, I will say it was not all personal as he would like to make it out to be. Oh, no. The dislike came as well from pushing the agenda of the Federalists. Party politics then as now were difficult to ignore. It was not just a concern of mine, but Abigail also agrees that men like Jefferson and his Federalist Party screams loudly for "we the people," yet has made it very clear women are not part of that we in the ratification of the Constitution. I am afraid with men like Jefferson and others, women may not see the vote until the 20th century. Longest dinner of my life. For his cut of meat, I served him mostly fat, which he seemed to enjoy. Oh, yes! Here they are. I knew they cannot all have been damaged or lost. George and I received these as wedding gifts sent from France. Vive la France! We love the French. One particular young Frenchman proved to be awestruck with the general during the Revolution. He was just 19 and he lost his father at a young age, so he saw George as a wonderful father figure. Marquis de Lafayette emerged a hero from the Battle of Brandywine. I often spoke with him at Valley Forge. He still had an adorable boyish face. But it was the siege of Yorktown, the turncoat Benedict Arnold, that made him a lasting hero in these here United States. But there is no greater value than the actions of the heart. I'm fond of what comes from the heart. Lafayette and the general maintained close friends after the war. Lafayette named his only son George Washington Lafayette. In July 1789, shortly after the start of the French Revolution, Lafayette was named commander of the French National Guard. One of his first acts was to raise the Bastille, a symbol of the French monarchy's excesses. After doing so, he sent the key to the Bastille's west portal to the general. That key today still is hung in the hallway of the mansion. More of the general's lists of things to do. No. Letters. 40 years together. Decades of our lives' intimate trust. Lives together in script. As husband, wife, father, mother, protector, my lover. Our trust in each other. A partnership of ambition, equal when necessary. 40 years is a double lifetime with a person. Our wedding was a grand affair. Oh, George. Oh, George. Oh, here's one I remember. One of the times you stayed away too long. December 3rd, 1776. To my George. The most unfavorable of events came to pass this week. While I was placing a log in the fire, I absent-mindedly grabbed the cutting board and threw it into the coals. It was as if it had been a sinner cast into the inferno. Gone! All lost and burnt back into the original elements. I was distraught with sorrow at this awful turn of events, and for the better part of the evening, ours was inconsolable. I passed into a black case of the vapors. Even now as I write, I am distressed, weighted with the thoughts of these hardships I suffer with you gone. Oh, George, do return from your peregrinations and bring back hope to your utterly and abysmally wretched. Oh, I cannot bear this. Dearest, I am now set down to write you on a subject which fills me with inexpressible concern. And this concern is greatly aggravated and increased when I reflect upon its uneasiness I know it will give you. When it has been determined in Congress that the whole army raised for the defense of the American cause shall be put under my care, and that it is necessary for me to proceed immediately to Boston to take upon me the command of it. Oh, you may believe me, my dear Patsy, when I assure you in the most solemn manner that so far from seeking this appointment, I have used every endeavor in my power to avoid it. Not only from my unwillingness to part with you and the family, but from a consciousness. Not only from my unwillingness to part with you and the family, but from a consciousness of it being a trust too great for my capacity, and that I should enjoy more real happiness and felicity in 1 month with you at home than I have the most distant prospect of reaping abroad if my stay were to be 7 times 7 years. Oh, George. Oh, George. Oh, George. I've lived a very dull life with you, George. Now that you're gone, I indeed feel totally alone. Yes. More indeed, I think I am more like a state prisoner than anything else. Oh! The bread. Oh! The fire. Oh! The coals are nearly out. Oh! What have I done? I've lingered too long at the fair. Oh! What? Oh! 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 this will not do. The fire will go out. I put too much on it to breathe. Both dinner and I will surely be ruined. No! It needs a starter. Nothing of use! During the winter at Valley Forge, all was used to survive it. How easy a lifetime can be erased by a day. The braveries and gallantries of one's life gone untold, unwritten. Not a trace in the ashes. Textbooks are full of the stuff men are made of, as if women had no role in the making of men or this country at all. To rewrite history, one merely needs not to tell, teach, or share the spotlight with all who helped bake the bread. I was most happy when I was standing next to the general. I supported and believed all he did, but yet I had my own story to tell. Even the hardships. Some of the hardest times were at Valley Forge. Oh yes, I was there with many women. There were 8,500 men, 450 women, 300 children or more. We cooked, cleaned, mended both clothes and men back together, nursed the sick. Smallpox took its toll. There were many brave women who sometimes took over a gun when their husbands fell. All these brave deeds forgotten. The evil that men do lives on after them. The good often turd with their bones. These founding fathers who ratified the Constitution made up 6% of the population. This could not be said to be a representation of whom this country was, but whom it was designed for. Oh, indeed. Indeed. I suppose the work of the slaves has never been counted. This fire feels wonderful. The smell of baking bread is as comforting as a balm. Back to work. The smokehouse is only a few steps away. There's cured ham and lamb. I know exactly where. I could return unnoticed It will complete the meal. Apricot. Who is there? Oh. Your favorite apricot cobbler made just for your... I know you want it. Take a bite. Bon appetit. I know this script. The writing, I taught you to write in English and French. I know this to be you. Come out. Come out. I know this to be you. You must not torment me this way. I have done all I can for your well-being. Oh! Oh! The smokehouse is up in flames. Well, no meat to be served. The dinner will be a disaster without the maid serving. Oh. Who's there? Is it you? Are you in the house? Please, don't torture me, please. Show yourself. It is this business about the will. Listen, that's not fair. What have I done but care for you all? This will was written several months before his death. No discussion with me. Good intentions have come to this. George, the emancipation of all the slaves that he owned after the death of me. Well, of course, such a will would lead to this. A bounty on my head. Hello, are you there? Oh, I can feel you. I smell the cocoa oil you love so much. Please, listen. All listen. There are 317 souls here under my care, my sole care, now that the general is gone. I will provide as we have done so over the years. There are greater responsibilities that come with freedom. You are not prepared for such a world. I am not to blame. But to be clear, not all will be included in this will. 123 are the ownership of the general. The rest of you are dower slaves of the custis. You are a dower slave. Upon my death, you will not be set free. My life does not stand in the way of your freedom. Please, please, more concessions can be made. Please, my death would be senseless to you. Come out now. Reveal yourself to me. You are always safe here with me. I know it is you. Just us chickens. This is a good thing. A ram in the bush, if you will. God's gift of Esther to me is a living symbol of God's promise that he always provides a ram in the bush to his children. As a substitute sacrifice for Isaac, today for me, a chicken will do. I have you now! Oh. Oh. Stay still, you. I have you now! Oh! Ain't nobody here but us chickens. Ain't nobody here at all. Ain't nobody here but us chickens. Ain't nobody here. Ow! Roasted chicken prepared in a colonial brick oven can be quite tasty, juicy, and succulent to the palate, with a side dish of green string beans, mashed sweet potatoes, and a special favorite of the general's, a lovely butternut roasted squash with rosemary. Perhaps later servings for dessert, a whipped pumpkin pudding custard with bites of the general's preferred sweetmeats, cherries.